So the National Assembly will today debate and vote on two motions of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa and his cabinet respectively. What can we expect? Let's bring in SABC News reporter Bulelani Phillip. He's live for us in the Western Cape. Bulelani, very good morning to you. What's at stake here?
Well, good morning to you, Blaine, and to the viewers at home. Of course, it's going to be a busy day here at Parliament today. Two motions have been scheduled, one against the President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as a one that has been brought by the Democratic Alliance against the Cabinet. Of course, the DA will be making a mini protest in about an hour just outside of Parliament, calling on the current Cabinet to go. But of course, in terms of the proceedings, the man who knows the story better than I do is Moloto Muthapo, the spokesperson for Parliament. Firstly, Moloto, what were the Speaker's reasons for denying the secret ballot request?
Well, the Speaker followed all the guidelines of the Constitutional Court in a matter between the National Assembly Speaker and the UDM. You'll remember that the Constitutional Court really assisted all the parties, including Parliament, with a long list, a very detailed list of guidelines that the Speaker needs to follow when deciding whether a motion must be conducted by way of a secret ballot or open ballot. And one of those key guidelines was that if the political environment is toxic, if the political environment is such that members of Parliament will be endangered together with their families, risk to life for exercising one decision or the other in such motions in the House, then the Speaker has got a responsibility to protect those members by deciding that the motion should be conducted by way of a secret ballot. But the ATM has failed to convince or to show any evidence of any threat to life that members may suffer if this motion is not conducted by way of a secret ballot. And in terms of the assessment that the Speaker has conducted, in terms of the political climate in the country, in terms of any violence, political violence that are existing in the country against members of Parliament, she could not find any evidence or anything that is closely related to that. And therefore the Speaker took a decision, that a very conscious and a good decision in terms of our democracy, to ensure that the members of Parliament conduct their business continuously, transparently, and in a manner that is open, to ensure that there is appropriate accountability to the members of the public, because you cannot be accountable in a climate of secrecy.
But we've seen before, I'm taking an example of ANC MP Mervyn Dex. When he speaks against his party, there were consequences where he was suspended. Don't you think in that particular context that a secret ballot would have been a better option?
No, absolutely not. And again, I will refer you to the guidelines of the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court clearly said that members of Parliament must have the conviction, the courage of their conviction. When they take one decision or the other, they must also be prepared to suffer any consequences because of the principle that they are carrying out on the behalf of the people of South Africa. And that is a matter that is relating to violence. The issue of Mervyn Dex is not a matter that included a risk of life. It's just a principled matter that he has taken that is in opposition to his political party. And that is admirable, and that's what the Constitutional Court actually encouraged the members of Parliament to do.
Lastly, the ATM who are sponsoring the motion against the President had asked the Speaker for the postponement of the motion. What's the status at this stage? Is it going to be withdrawn? Will it go ahead and be debated?
Well, both motions, the DA motion in the Cabinet excluding the President, as well as the motion of the ATM in the President, they are scheduled, and they've been scheduled by the Programming Committee of the National Assembly, and therefore it will be up to the National Assembly sitting this afternoon to deal with them.
Thank you so much, Moloto Muthapo, the spokesperson for Parliament. I'm going to bring into this conversation Blaine Lawson Naidu, the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. Lawson, you must have been listening into that conversation with Moloto. What's your take on this issue of declining the secret ballot by the Speaker?
Well, I think Moloto has explained it rather well in terms of the judgment of the Constitutional Court in the secret ballot case, which gave Parliament the guidance in terms of how to exercise the discretion that the Speaker has as to whether or not there should be a secret ballot in respect of a motion of no confidence in the President. That discretion sits with the Speaker. The courts will not tell Parliament whether there must be a secret ballot or not. That is not the role of the courts. They would be certainly overreaching their powers if they were to do that. So the Speaker has got to exercise her discretion in a way that is reasonable in the circumstances. And I think in the context in which this motion is being brought and the factors that have driven the ATM to bring this motion, in my view, do not justify necessarily a secret ballot in this case. So I think the Speaker is justifiable in her approach towards the ATM motion.
Parties like the Democratic Alliance have been arguing that members of parliament should be voting based on their conscience, and their political parties should not be taking any steps that will be, consequencing the decisions that they take in the House. How do we balance that?
Well, I think, those are problems that exist because of the electoral system that we have, which makes parties all powerful. And the Democratic Alliance, together with other parties, use the power of the party to instill discipline in their members. So I think, this is a broader discussion about the kind of electoral system we have and the kind of accountability that we have of our elected representatives. In the current context, parties do exercise power. We have to recognize that reality. We may not like it, but that is the reality of the electoral system we have at the moment.
Before I let you go, Lawson, just on the question of the majority rule of the ANC, is it ever fathomable that a political party such as the ANC can actually lose a debate such as these two motions that we'll be hearing there this afternoon?
No, of course. I mean, the responsibility on members of parliament is to debate these issues in their caucuses, to listen to the arguments and to give to take a decision based on the arguments that are put forward. So it's quite possible that the ANC could lose a motion such as this, even if it is in an open ballot. If people are persuaded by the arguments and feel that they want to express themselves in a particular way, they have the opportunity to do that. It's simply that they must then obviously suffer the consequences that the party may impose on them.
All right, thank you so much, Lawson Naidu. He's the Executive Secretary of CASAC, of course, giving us his views on the legalities around these two motions that will be presented this afternoon in the National Assembly. On that note, Blaine will cross back to you in studio.